The rain had just started to fall over Portland, a gentle drizzle tapping against the window of a small, book-filled apartment. Inside, Charlotte Matthews sat cross-legged on her living room floor, surrounded by half-open boxes and old photographs. She had meant to declutter. Instead, she found herself drifting into the soft ache of memory. 10 years had passed since she left that small town where her heart had first learned what love felt like and what it meant to lose it. Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled an old shoebox from the bottom of a stack. Inside were concert tickets, a silver bracelet, and a letter, sealed and yellowing with time. Her name wasn't on it. It was his. Liam Williams. The moment she saw his name, something in her chest fluttered. She hadn't seen or heard from him since the night she left without goodbye, a decision that had haunted her in quiet hours ever since. She sat there for a long moment, the rain whispering against the glass, before carefully tearing open the letter. Her own handwriting stared back at her, neat, emotional, almost trembling with things she'd never had the courage to say. Liam, I wish I could tell you why I left. Maybe I was afraid, of you, of us, of what loving you meant. But you were the best thing that ever happened to me. You still are. Her throat tightened. Each word carried a decade of silence. She remembered writing it on her last night in town. She had planned to send it after she settled into her new life in the city. But new lives have a way of burying old ones, and the letter stayed behind, forgotten, sealed, and silent. Now, 10 years later, she was no longer the girl who ran away. She was a woman who had seen dreams break and rebuild themselves. Charlotte stood, pacing slowly, letter still in hand. She smiled sadly. 10 years, Liam, she whispered. Would you even recognize me now? Her phone buzzed, her editor reminding her of a book deadline. She sighed, gathering the scattered contents of the box and setting them aside. Absent-mindedly, she placed the letter among a pile of outgoing mail meant for her publisher. Then she slipped on her coat and left for work, never realizing that in that single distracted moment, the past had been set free. The next morning came quiet and gray. Charlotte's morning routine was a symphony of calm, coffee brewing, pen tapping, laptop humming. She didn't notice the missing letter until 2 days later, when she came back from the post office. The realization hit like a wave. She froze mid-step, her heart skipping. Oh no! She rushed to the small table where she'd left her things, flipping through envelopes, notebooks, anything that might hide it. Nothing. The letter was gone. Panic surged in her chest, the kind that squeezes your ribs and steals your breath. She pressed her hand to her mouth, remembering every word she'd written. It wasn't just a letter. It was her heart on paper, one she never meant for him to see. But somewhere out there, the past was already on its way to him. That night, she couldn't sleep. The city lights flickered through her window as she sat curled up on the couch, replaying old memories. The way Liam used to laugh when he caught her sneaking glances during art class. The summer they built a treehouse behind his family's orchard. The promise he whispered the night before she left, wherever you go, I'll still find you. He never did. Because she never wanted to be found. Until now. Maybe life had its own strange way of mending what time tried to erase. She didn't know it yet, but across town, in a tall glass building overlooking the Willamette River, a man would soon open an envelope that smelled faintly of rain and memory. And the words inside would change everything. The morning was quiet in downtown Portland, the sky still wrapped in a haze of early fog. Inside a corner office on the 14th floor of Williams & Company. Architecture, Liam Williams flipped through his mail without much thought. Bills. Proposals. Client letters. Then, something strange. An envelope that looked old. Its paper was creased and soft at the edges, its ink slightly faded. His name written in handwriting that made his breath hitch. He didn't need to look twice. He knew it instantly. Charlotte Matthew. The room went still. For a long time, he didn't move. He just stared at the envelope like it had materialized from another life. When his assistant knocked, asking about a project file, Liam barely heard her. After she left, he turned the letter over in his hands. The postmark was recent, but the handwriting, familiar, trembling, belonged to the woman who had vanished without goodbye 10 years ago. He hesitated before opening it, his fingers brushing the worn seal. And then, with a deep breath, he tore it open. Inside were the words he had waited a decade to hear. Liam, I wish I could tell you why I left. Maybe I was afraid, of you, of us, of what loving you meant. But you were the best thing that ever happened to me. You still are. He read it once. Then again. By the third time, his vision blurred. He remembered everything, her laughter, her warmth, the promises they never got to keep. But here it was, years late, like a ghost from the past. He had built a life after she left, a successful firm, quiet weekends, polite smiles. But none of it filled the quiet she left behind. That night, after the city lights dimmed, Liam sat by his apartment window with the letter beside a glass of whiskey. He typed her name into his phone, then deleted it. What could he even say? But his heart whispered, find her. He finally gave in, searching her name online. Charlotte Matthew, author. Her photo appeared beside her book title. Same brown eyes, a little older, softer somehow. Without thinking, he opened his email and typed. Subject, the letter. Charlotte. I got your letter. Liam. He hovered for a moment, then pressed send. Charlotte had just come home from the bookstore when she saw the email. One line. That's all it said. I got your letter. Her hands shook. After a long pause, she wrote back. Liam. I didn't mean for it to reach you. It was a mistake. But maybe it wasn't. His reply came faster than she expected. Coffee. Tomorrow. The old cafe on 5th Street. Her pulse raced. That cafe, their place. It had been 10 years. 10 years of what-ifs and unfinished sentences. But tomorrow, she'd see him again. The next afternoon, she arrived early. She sat by the window, her hands curled around a cup she could barely taste. Then, there he was. Liam Williams. A little older, same quiet strength in his eyes. When he saw her, he smiled, hesitant but warm. She smiled back. For a moment, silence did all the talking. So, 10 years later, and your letter finally found me, he said gently. She laughed softly. Guess the universe has a sense of timing. It always did, he said. They talked for hours, about work, life, the people they used to be. Beneath every word lingered something fragile but familiar. When they said goodbye, Liam handed her the letter, folded neatly. You might want this back. Charlotte smiled. Keep it. It finally found you. And as she walked away into the golden sunset, she didn't notice him watching, not with nostalgia, but with something awakening again. Something that had never truly died. 3 weeks later, the letters began. Every week, a small envelope would arrive at Charlotte's doorstep. Inside, Liam would write about his sketches, his projects, the simple things that made him think of her, the cinnamon tea she loved, the bookstore on 9th that still smelled like her perfume. And Charlotte wrote back, sharing stories of the books she wrote and the things she never said out loud. It was through those letters that they began to heal, word by word, line by line. One evening, Charlotte read one of Liam's letters under the glow of her lamp. Maybe love doesn't die when it ends. Maybe it just waits until we're brave enough to open the door again. She smiled through tears. Maybe he was right. A week later came her book launch, The Weight of Unsent Words. The small bookstore was filled with laughter, music, and the scent of old pages. Yet Charlotte's heart kept glancing at the door, waiting. And then, he appeared. Liam. Wearing a simple navy suit, holding that same old letter, edges worn, ink faded. The room hushed as he stepped forward. I think, he said softly, this letter was never lost. It was just waiting for the right time. Charlotte's eyes shimmered. And this is the right time? He smiled. It feels like it. He handed her another envelope, new, white, crisp. "This one's mine," he said. "Figured I owed you one." She opened it with shaking hands. "You were the best thing that ever happened to me too. Let's not waste another decade." Tears slipped down her cheeks. Liam reached out, gently brushing one away. The crowd faded. The world narrowed to two people and a letter that had finally come home. Later that night, they walked by the river. The city shimmered, quiet and alive. Liam reached for her hand. She let him. "Do you think the universe really gives second chances?" she whispered. He smiled. "No. I think we do." She leaned into him, and the past finally exhaled. Some letters are written to be read. Some are written to be found. And some find their way home when hearts are finally ready. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more soulful tales, only on Soulthread.